Let's pack our stuff now and run away. We can't be all we want in this small town. Our life was rough, so let's make our days what we want, and I'll give you my last name. All we wanted was a place to feel like home. That's why we parted from our ways to heal our soul. I'm a small town miserable man that does what he can.
These days, life passes by quickly in a blur. It's been nearly a year since I graduated and started working full-time, as one does, and I've settled into a routine somewhat. Every morning I get up, get dressed, struggle to look presentable, and head into office for a full day of staring at my computer screen, stringing words and numbers together for a person who'll never know me and never know my name. It's not a bad life by any means, and I relish the security of having a job. But the hours are sometimes long and arduous, and true purpose gets lost in the time that passes as the sun travels through the sky, which I don't get to witness, being cooped up indoors. I took a break from the sometimes soulless corporate rhythm the way us Singaporeans know how, by flying to another country. This time, I ended up in Vietnam, and in a few days, I think I found my mojo back a little bit. Found my love of life back again. This is the story of how.
It's very strong. That is some good shit.
Firstly, I had to peel apart the layers of my carefully constructed and complex world and discard them in the city where they belonged. Arriving at our homestay in SAPA, it was immediately clear that living here was serendipitously simple. It was quiet, undisturbed. It was housed against a backdrop of rice paddy fields that stretched up high and grand, with open doors to the nature around it. It seamlessly melted with the mountains in the distance and lush foliage closer home. Indie house homes 2 sweet, friendly dogs and 2 sweet, friendly owners by way of a husband and wife, and staying here meant that I would learn to live how people of Tavan, Sapa lived, which meant no frills, no laptops, no personal loo, and no daily matcha latte. But what I got in return was so much better. In an environment where you're so close to that breathing and alive world, it's impossible to focus only on yourself. You're aware of how large and imposing the earth itself is, and you become small, insignificant. It takes away the ego to be in a place like that, and have the wonderful chance to just stop thinking about yourself, but to just be, essentially, exactly as you are. The flowers don't care how you look like. The paddy fields couldn't be asked about how much you earn. The dogs and cats of all the village won't even turn their heads to look if the president herself walked down the street. There isn't much to do except to revel in the beauty of existing, in the same plane as every other living creature. Here, I forgot about the worries and preoccupations of my modern life. Nature took that selfishness away from me, and I just was, one being at equal station within the vast web of life. After the peeling apart came the inevitable growth.
And I am gonna die on this cliff. I love wild flowers the most, the ones that grow at the side. Wildflowers.
Just not in ways that I expected. It turns out, as a city girl through and through who loves nature, I love the idea of it, but to exist in harmony with the entirety of nature, including bugs and creepy crawlies, is a whole different ballgame to punching numbers in Excel.
What do we do? It's on you! It's on your head! the lesson learned that next time you can just let it live peacefully in my hair. So like letting me freak out.
So, my fault now, is it?
That is the crux of our conversation. Are we willing to coexist peacefully with creatures or not?
I'm not looking at anything.
And maybe it wasn't all that successful. But in this way, I think the discomfort was a sign of learning how to be different, like being watered in a way that Singapore never could. As with all travel, there are mishaps that happen. My sister and I endured a most unpleasant overnight bus where we lay within centimeters of each other and barely got any sleep. On another day, we made it up the final leg of staircases to scale Fansipan, all for views that were shrouded in major fog. And in the course of the homestay, I tried to get used to the bugs that crawled unwittingly into the crevices of my daily activities. Of course, at the end of the day, travel is leisure. No one forced a gun to my head and told me to book a double cabin meant for a single person, or to go for a homestay, clearly showing that they have a charming open concept house exposed to the elements. But I think it was the unexpected events that took me by surprise and let me grow in other ways than what I'm accustomed to. Aiming for academic improvement, advancing in our careers, getting a house, just getting more. I didn't think about how it's also just as important, if not more so, to face challenges I don't ask for, like wanting to be okay with bugs in order to appreciate nature for her whole, not only her parts, and adapt to discomfort when it comes. Because it surely will, and not only when we're prepared for it, nor in the ways that we're used to.
Looking crazy, having a time. Didn't specify what kind of time.
Finally, being stripped apart meant that I was ready to be nourished again. Vietnamese food is fresh, savory, hearty, and homely. It's fuss-free and unpretentious, but it hits the spot every time. It fills you up without being too rich, but the coffee is something a little like their culture, unapologetically strong and dripping with flavor. In contrast, the Singapore CBD diet leaves a lot to be desired. I'm often eating a greasy plate of something even when I try to order more vegetables, and if it's something truly healthy, it'll also cost you $10. Please and thank you. Vietnamese know how to eat as much as they know how to do hard work and be enterprising. In the small countryside village of Tavan, I had a banana cake that rivals those sold in posh Singaporean cafes by a mom operating right outside her literal house. Probably a side hustle that helps feed the family, in addition to farming or whichever other business the family runs. Yet, what nourished me most was warmth. In the evenings at Indie House, we gathered as one motley family by the waning light of day and had dinner together, freshly prepared by Chan, the homestay wife, business owner, and domestic goddess. This food was local, homemade, and abundantly delicious. In the low light with soft music in the background, we'd feast together with the host and chat about our lives, seeing how similar and different we all are.
Fried cabbage, local mushroom. Mushroom when training coming. Only this season have this mushroom. Eggplant, fresh eggplant with a little spicy sauce. Okay, and it's a vegetarian soup. Everything is a vegetarian, but not fish. Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
There's something most precious you can give away, and that's time. It's a blessed thing to give away time because you part with something you can never get back. I felt deeply this warmth and a certain kind of love from the people for the sacrifice of time to cook, to eat, and converse with us, turning strangers into friends, if even just for a moment. There's also time that I gave myself to relax and stop thinking about work, which is a core part of the stripping away. We give ourselves so little of it in the business of frenetic city living. With what I had, this sudden expanse of blank space and time, I could spend it freely talking to my sister, having conversations where we discovered more about ourselves and each other, or really just being silly and having fun. I found the time to do art again, newly inspired by the quaintness of the house, unlike anything I've ever known. Inspired also by the slow burn of a home-cooked soup, dogs that wait by the door, and a delayed ray of the sun. It reminded me that as much as it seems, my life is not composed of only the months or years I might spend in an air-conditioned office amongst the blistering gleam of tower buildings. I found it somewhere in Tavan, within the leaves that blew in tune with the wind, and I'll find it again and again, wherever love and adventure takes me, as long as the world keeps on turning.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do, haunted by the ghost of you. Take me back.